Have you been thinking about buying a house and that house has a tenant in it? Well, a lot of houses have tenants in them. So let's start going over some of the things you need to consider, especially if you have a government-backed loan. So first of all, let's go over what a government-backed loan is. So the government-backed loans are two major types. There's VA loans and there's FHA loans. As you know, the majority of the stuff I do is for veterans, so that entails a VA loan. And it's going to be pretty much the same when we talk about VA loans and FHA loans when it comes to moving into a house. So I'm just going to say government backed loan when I start talking about this. So let's start going over some of the nuances of purchasing a house that has a tenant in it. Okay, so let's start going over point number one. Point one, can you purchase a house that has a tenant in it? Of course you can for any kind of loan. The point is the tenant going to stay or not? Now, for a government backed loan, you must occupy the house, and you must occupy that house within 60 days of the close of escrow. So you close, let's say July 1st, you have to occupy by, what would that be? 60 days is about what, October 31st or so, or I'm sorry, August 31st or so. So that is a requirement, and you must be in that house. And sometimes they actually send people around to check to see if you're doing that, because there have been times when people have done little things they're not supposed to do, like use a government-backed loan to buy a house and turn it into Airbnbs, turn them into rentals, put their mamas in them, all kinds of other things because they want to save a little bit of money and do it at the government's expense. So this is something that you can do. Now, some people recommend it, some people don't. In today's market, it's something that you're going to have to do. If this was a normal market, I wouldn't recommend it for various reasons. But today, you really need to look at looking at houses with tenants in them. And then we're going to get into some of the pitfalls a little bit later that you need to look at, because there can be many pitfalls. So here's pitfall number one. What happens if that tenant says, I'm not moving out for various reasons? What do you mean you're not moving out? I bought this house to live in it. Well, what are you going to do? Maybe you can't move them out. Well, your first option may be to convert that government-backed loan into a conventional loan. Then you become an investor. Well, that conventional loan is probably going to require 20% down. Most investment loans will not let you do 3% conventional, 5% conventional, and so on. They require more substantial down payments like 20, and some banks even require 25%, but most require 20% down. So that's your first option. The other option is you need to get them out and find out why they're trying to stay. And of course, we have a little issue that we just got passed, and hopefully that was a once in a lifetime issue, or at least once in our lifetimes. These things seem to happen once in a century. So uh, who knows? Maybe somebody's still around for the next century event, and maybe it'll come sooner. We'll see. But something like that could happen again, and that's where it's a really big issue, in my opinion, is it's the government versus the government. You're against a rock and a hard place, because you got the government saying you can't kick somebody out, and then the same government saying you have to occupy something within a space of time. So that doesn't even add up to me, because if you've ever dealt with the government, they will sit there and say, I can't give you an answer. We'll see. And then they'll come back later and go, okay, our answer is you couldn't have done that. You should have known, even though we didn't know. So we're going to fine you and we'll send you to prison. Oh, no. I hate that crap. I hate that crap. But they do it all day long because they can. Yeah, that's why you need to get rid of the immunity for government workers and such, because they need to make real decisions. And yeah, when you make a crap decision, you should be able to stick with it, or say we don't know. And then when it doesn't pan out, it's like, hey, we didn't know. Hey, sorry, man, we didn't know. So you don't have to suffer. but they go, we don't know, and then you have to suffer. Hey, I worked for the government for many years. I was in the military, and I've had to suffer from other people's deeds. And if you watch my last video or a video that may be coming up, you know what I'm talking about. Another one that comes up, some people go like, hey, the tenant's going to be here for 30 days, 60 days, whatever I gave them, because I don't have to move in for 60, because maybe I'm moving from someplace else. Maybe you're in the military and you're PCSing in and you have 60 days, before you leave your last duty station. What about then? Uh, some people go get greedy and go, hey, maybe I can keep their deposit somehow. Not going to happen. You got to get that deposit back. And this is one that can trap you. Who's going to give them their deposit back? Make sure that is straightened out, because when their time is up, let's say 30, 60 days down the line, they vacate the house, and you're sitting there trying to figure out, did they leave the house intact? Do they deserve to get a deposit back? When they're coming back going, I had my deposit, I want that back. You're like, you left my house in a shambles. No, you're not getting the deposit back, because it was a rental. That's why they say that old expression, it's a rental. Uh, who has that deposit? Trust me, the people who are selling that house, they're going to do everything in their power to keep that deposit in their pockets and let you fend for it. So keep that in the back of your mind. Make sure your realtor is thinking about that. What about that deposit? You need to transfer that in as part of escrow to make sure you have it, because that tenant is going to be coming for that deposit. Even if they tore up the house, they're going to be asking for that deposit. And if you don't have it and you don't have good excuses, guess what you're going to be coming out of? Writing a check to them. Another pitfall that you need to be thinking about. Let's wrap up the tenant part and start talking about some red flags to look for if you're going to buy a tenant-occupied house. If that tenant starts going like, hey, I'd really like to stay, will I be able to sign a new lease with you? That's a red flag. In certain states, you need to look at your laws. If the female in the house becomes pregnant, some states don't allow you to kick a woman out who's pregnant, to protect themselves. They don't want a pregnant woman to become homeless and become a burden on the state. They'll make them become your burden. And yeah, so they'll let them become your burden so they don't become a burden on the state. And you got to then worry about that person that, even though you just bought the house, didn't buy a house with tenants, to keep tenants. They were going to leave and you're going to go move in. Your stuff's in a U-Haul truck ready to move in, and you go, I'm pregnant. I get to stay. Again, against the government and the government. State government says you can't kick them out, and the federal government says you got 60 days to move in if you're on a government-backed loan. Hate that stuff. But I'm sure in most states you just can't go around, are you pregnant? So find out if they got plans to actually move. If they're running around going, I have no plans, red flag. Uh, Something you need to be talking to your realtor about. And if they're like, I don't have any plans, your realtor needs to have plans like, oh, you don't have any plans on moving? The realtor selling the house isn't helping you find a new place? Oh, no. I've run across that a few times. Other realtor just didn't care. They were trying to sell a house, and they didn't care where the tenants went. They didn't care, period. I had one realtor, she would, all these things, no, don't tell. I've had a realtor tell me not to tell the tenant the house was for sale. I've had a realtor like, don't interact with the tenants and tell them all these things. And then when the house was under contract, oh, you tell the tenants the house is for sale. I mean, just crazy stuff, crazy stuff. Uh, you deliver the 30-day notice for the tenants to get out. What? Oh, the seller, they didn't have a property manager. They did everything with the tenants, and they don't have the heart to tell the tenants they need to get out. These are things you need to know ahead of time, because this stuff happens a lot. especially here in Vegas. People don't want to pay those few little cents to get stuff done, through a property manager. They'll just do it themselves and then expect other folks to do it for them when time comes. Can you handle this? You see, here in Las Vegas and Nevada, I don't know about other states. Actually, I do know about other states. You don't have to be a licensed real estate agent. Here in Nevada, not only do you have to be a licensed real estate agent to be a property manager, you have to actually have a property manager certificate. And people don't want to pay the fee, so they do it themselves. And then when time comes, they go to the real estate agent. Can you handle this? And the real estate agent actually cannot. And then it's like, why can't you handle this? Because I can't. I'm not a property manager. You didn't pay a property manager. You got to handle it. I don't understand. You tried to save money now. Yeah. And, but you're the guy buying the house and you're sitting there worried, and everybody, all the realtors are going, I can't do anything. It's all because the seller was all cheap and everything. So make sure those things are taken care of, or you're going to be the one out on the streets. If that tenant is uh, throwing up a whole bunch of barriers and they're not letting you into the house, guess what? You're going to have issues in the future. So these are the things you need to look out for. And as always, if you're finding some value from the information I'm putting out, hit that subscribe button below and give me a little bit of love on this channel. And got some more videos for you guys to see. Watch them, because I always have some great information for you.